So you were friends with Joe Biden?
Oh, yeah. Right before the election in '72, Jill, Joe, Nelia, and I were in his kitchen. How do you forget that?
Stevenson says his first inkling something was up came when Jill refused to go with him to meet Bruce Springsteen, who was booked to appear at the Stone Balloon.
He said, Joe asked me to keep an eye on the boys. And I just thought to the back of my mind,
He knew. He knew they were having an affair. I think we have one more clip from this Inside Edition show. Is that right? Yes. Yes. Let's go.
One day, he says a man came into his bar and asked him to pay damages for a fender bender that involved Jill.
He looks at me and he says, oh, she wasn't driving. I said, her beloved Corvette, she wasn't driving it? He goes, Senator Biden was driving it. And I went, what?
And he knew that they were fooling around. But the thing about it is, when he came out with this story, it was very interesting. He did it in a respectful way, believe it or not. He wasn't unloading on an ex-wife. He acknowledged, look, we were young, things happen. I really don't hold it against him, but this is the truth, and they need to start saying the truth, or at least stop lying. But there was another part of this story that nobody knew back then. Bill reached out to me when I was sitting in this building, out of the blue, and we had a nice chat. And he told me some things, and he told me more. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I met Bill. I met with his wife, Linda. This is all the way back in like 2022, 2023. And he told me a fascinating story. Take a look at this.
It's hard to believe what they're doing to President Trump right now. And that's why I came to you and you listened to my story. He is doing Joe Biden, our president, right? He lives 2 miles from me. Today, I'm 2 miles from the courtroom where the Hunter deal fell apart. And he is doing the exact same thing. I couldn't stand it anymore. I needed somebody just to listen to me, to tell them what happened to me because I got on the wrong side of the Biden family.
So I sat down with him and I heard the story, and there were a lot of ins and outs, and I had to look at the documents. And at the end of it, I am convinced that what they did to President Trump, right, hauling him into court like that on such a grand scale, Joe Biden had practiced, because he did the same thing to Bill Stevenson on a smaller scale decades ago in Wilmington. Take a look at this headline from 1982. William and George Stevenson were accused of criminal liability for the $8,266 in unmade deposits. Okay, folks, that was for a payroll. They didn't make the payroll payments on time, the tax payments, rather. So that's interesting, front page news and everything like that. I found the indictment. Now, this is pretty wild, and you got to watch it kind of carefully with me, okay? On April 21st of 1982, defendants were arraigned in this court for failing to make payments to the account for the first quarter of 1982. Now, look at that. And that's when I was like, oh, my God, he's right. Take that full. April 21st, they're arrested for not making payments for the first quarter of 1982, which ended on April 1st. And in fact, the arraignment happened on the 21st. The arrest happened on the 8th. 8 days late, the check was literally in the mail, and they made a federal case out of it. They were out to get, Joe Biden was out to get Bill Stevenson.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.